That's it.
All right, here we
Here
go.
we go.
All right.
Okay.
Let's
Well,
do it.
welcome to the Supernatural Tendencies podcast. Kind of special feature for this week. We're kind of doing a live video. Start this off. We will have an audio version also posted later. We'd like to welcome everybody. I want to first apologize. I'm not a live person, so please bear with me. That's mostly her did. So we do have Mr. Keith Linder with us today. So excited. If any of you who are in the group now have not listened to this past week's podcast, we do cover the story of the Bothell house there in Washington State, to which featured and focused Mr. Linder. So first and foremost, thank you, Mr. Linder, for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
Hello, thanks for having me. I heard last week's podcast, and it was a good preamble, good introduction. I know you, Christy, I think had a secret wish of locating me, finding me, and bam, you found me.
I found you.
So,
All right,
miraculously.
do you want me to start this?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm sitting here waiting on you.
So sorry. So again, first time live, so I apologize. So we just have a kind of list of questions right off the bat. We want to hear the story from you directly. I know a lot of these stories that we cover, whether it be a cryptid, especially like the conspiracies and stuff as well. It's much more hand-me-down information. So this is absolutely fantastic that you're taking your time out to do this for us, to hear from you directly. So I can't thank you enough. Can't thank you enough. So before we really get started with your experiences, we really want to get a sense and give our listeners a sense of what your life was like prior to everything you've experienced up until this point.
Yeah, that's easy to explain. My life was, as I would describe it, regular, simple. Um, I'm originally from Texas. I was living in the Pacific Northwest, right outside of Seattle, when these events happened, May of 2012. I describe my day as a Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 p.m. ish type of guy. I'm in IT. Like most people, I like sports. I like movies. I like being amongst friends and family. I had a girlfriend, obviously. We were together 2 years prior. Lived in two different places, though. So moving into the Bothell house was us trying to see how well we could live under one roof together. But other than that, just a very laid back IT professional type of guy. I don't know how many people are familiar with the Seattle scene, but it's a very fast moving, fast pacing, while at the same time you got your Starbucks, you got your coffee, you got your Seahawk and football. So Amazon, is headquartered here, Microsoft, Boeing. So it's that type of city. It can go either way. But for me, it was an IT. I'm an IT project manager.
Mhm.
And yeah, I was just really excited to move into a house with my girlfriend, relatively close to both of our places of work. And I don't know if you've seen pictures of the house. It was a new home built in 2005, and we moved in 2012.
Oh wow. So you were just an average guy, just an average couple, just like all of us.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Nothing,
yeah.
nothing unusual out there. Just an average guy and girl going about their everyday life, success stories, failures, trying to work it out. Nothing spectacular. Keith Linder is nobody special, but yeah, I was just doing my everyday thing.
Oh, great, great. Now, had you ever, either one of you, did either one of you ever have any type of paranormal activity or anything weird happen to you before you moved into the Bothell house?
No, we never had. I mean, me especially, I've never witnessed or dove or delved into the paranormal. I never was I guess I'll call it an enthusiast.
Uh-huh.
Um, who doesn't like a good scary story every now and then, especially this time of year?
Yep, yep.
Um, Never played with a Ouija board, knew to stay clear of them.
Yeah.
Never been into an abandoned hotel, hospital, school, graveyard. And neither did Tina, neither did my girlfriend at the time. So yeah, like I said, we were just very average. Wasn't into the paranormal shows um, and stuff like that. But I like a scary movie every now and then. But
Yeah,
my
sure.
scary movies were not paranormal. They were like Halloween, Jason,
Gotcha.
all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Upon first kind of getting in the house, maybe first settling in around that time, did you have any kind of weird feelings, any kind of indication at all that were just odd, not any particular happenings, just kind of odd feelings about the place beforehand?
No, I mean, choosing a house is kind of like choosing your car, right? You get into it, you test drive it, you walk into a house, and You're looking for the house to talk you out of buying it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that, hey, I don't feel we're not syncing with the house. It doesn't match our profile, our personality. This house was a nice house. This was our dream home, and that we had looked at other houses, turned them down, and this house had everything we wanted. It was spacious. It was big. It was in a good neighborhood. Kids are playing outside.
Uh,
People are hopscotching down the sidewalk. Girls and the boys are on their bikes. People walking their dog. And inside the house, everything is new. I mean, it was a well kept, put together house, as it should be. It was built in '05, but nothing was singing to us like, "Don't buy me, don't move here."
yeah.
you know,
So
like
yeah.
houses do. And not that it's paranormal, but you go into a house and you see, oh, this roof is kind of leaky, or you turn on the water and the waters are kind of gargling and the pipes are shaking. Then okay, I really don't want to invest in this house.
Yeah.
This house really didn't have any of that, so it wasn't talking itself out of us moving in. However, when we went to sign the papers and pick up the keys to the house,
Mm-hmm.
I remember that day. It was May 1st, about 3 p.m., 2 p.m. ish that day. And me and Tina walked in. We met the landlord, did the handshake, the meet and greet, and it was great. Then he left about an hour later, and we're just talking. And me and Tina, very house high, very congratulatory of us moving in. We did it, ha ha. And then out the blue, a kid coughed, just like very loud. I want to be that clear, very loud, like whoever did that wants to get our attention.
Yeah.
And we heard it. We're downstairs. House is empty. I mean, you know how sound travels in an empty house. It bounces off walls.
Yep.
There's not even electricity turned on. Nothing's running. And we looked at each other, me and Tina, and we like, was that a kid cough? And we kind of circled the house in the direction the noise came from upstairs. But not nowhere did we get up to go look or say, okay, we're not here alone, because we knew we were alone. I mean, it's a house, we have no kids.
Yeah.
So we shrugged it off, like, okay, that had to have come from outside,
Yeah.
even though it didn't make sense to have come from outside. You know what I'm saying? Because,
Yeah.
like I said, we're not tethered to the paranormal. We're not knowing that that's a precursor, and the spirit knows that's a precursor,
Oh, sure.
but we don't.
Sure.
So yeah, so hey, it's all, hey, let's bring the boxes in. Let's continue our moving project. So yeah, that was happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and I think anyone, you would, you hear something like that, and that seems like an innocent enough sound, and, I think anyone would think, oh, well, it must have just been a kid outside, or,
Yeah,
you wouldn't think anything of it really.
right. Your mind doesn't give it a second thought. You definitely don't go to bed with it. But it plays significantly later on, and we'll talk about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a harmless feeling, though, right? No malicious intent.
Totally harmless. Totally harmless. Nothing malicious. Totally harmless. Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Now, was that the only thing that happened in the beginning to kind of give a signal that, okay, maybe something is going on here?
No. 2 weeks into moving in, a few weeks into moving in, I noticed items missing. The
Oh,
first item that I noticed to go missing was my extra set of car keys. These are not the keys I use every day. And by car keys, I mean car fob. I hate saying car keys in 2019 because people don't really have keys anymore. It's a car fob.
yeah.
Doot, doot, doot. Yeah. So my car fob that I kept in a glove box in a little small container, in my safe that I never used with other objects I kept in there. And I noticed it was gone. I was going to retrieve another item and noticed my car fob, my extra set is missing. And that was weird. This happened within a week or two of moving in. And I remember thinking to myself, how could I have lost this? This was not something I gave to the movers to move over. I hand carried this over. And so that was interesting. On the other side of the spectrum, Tina would voice out loud in the morning, getting ready for work or whatever, or we're about to go out or something, that she's missing jewelry.
Oh, wow.
And she would be like, hey, I have an earring that's missing. And I don't mean her entire earring, I mean a pair. One set of a pair is missing, therefore it makes the earring useless. So she's voicing that to me a lot. And I'm like, hey, honey, haven't seen it, da 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 da. Wow, we really did a crazy job moving in, didn't we? But, and then the third thing we both experienced together is the depletion of our silverware.
Oh,
We would go, dinner, breakfast, lunch, or whatever. Hey, I go get a fork and I look in there and there's few forks available. One thing you have to understand, when me and Tina moved into the home, we've combined silverware. So there should nowhere be a shortage
yeah,
of
yeah.
silverware. I got mine, you got yours, they're all going into one drawer. However, they're depleting and we're finding ourselves searching for them to the point of now we're having conversations over dinner or whoever's turn it is to clean the kitchen. Hey, kid, I really appreciate if you stop throwing away your forks and knives after dinner. I mean, you scrape your plate off and sometimes forks and knives go in there with it. And I would look at it and we laugh it off. We're like, hey, no, honey, it's not me. And I'll tell her the same thing. Keith is not me. So that was kind of weird. But
Yeah,
once again, we're not thinking paranormal.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I learned later we're being sized up tremendously.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
spirits are really trying to get our attention there. They're laying the markers in the house, if you will. And then a few days or weeks after that, almost at the same time of us saying we have items missing, items start appearing in the home that neither one of us owned.
Oh, wow.
And these were always kid toys.
Oh, my
Now, it's easy to discern that these kid toys are not ours or our children because we don't have any.
Mm-hmm.
It's only us in the home. These kid toys, I always tell people, they're not remnants or leftovers. I mean, they kind of are, but they're not in the sense of we're not finding them behind appliances, vents, large pieces of body of the house that maybe the previous tenants left there as a kid or something. No, these are out in the open. These are on your kitchen counter
Where you'll find them.
where we found them.
Yeah, it'd be extremely noticeable to you.
Noticeable staircase, hallway, countertop.
Wow.
They're placed on objects that we moved into the home. Therefore, we know this was not here when we got here.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. And that's when we didn't go to the ghost category. We said, maybe we're being pranked from the outside. Maybe it's weird. I don't see how it's possible, but somebody's coming in here leaving this stuff. So I had all the locks changed. I called ADT security and I armed the house out the yin yang.
Yeah.
Because I travel on business. Tina stays home by herself. And if it's a prankster, I don't really know where this is going, but I need to take some precaution. I need to get some monitoring stuff in here. And it still happened. I mean, it didn't quell it. Then you come downstairs in the morning and find all your kitchen cabinet doors open.
Oh, wow.
It's not like somebody was rummaging through your cupboards. They're all open and they're all neatly open. I mean, every one of them. Sometimes you know how you go look for a coffee mug and you leave this door open or whatever. Every kitchen counter, the high ones and the low, including the cupboard closet, were wide open. And that really made me nervous in the sense of, okay, we definitely got somebody coming in.
Yeah.
But they're coming in while we're sleeping because we went to bed. This wasn't here. And then I'm like, okay, is there an attic entry? Is there a cupboard basement entry? And you're going through all these checklists.
Mm-hmm.
but it's inconclusive. It's like, okay, I don't know what's going on. It's weird, but once again, it's not fearful. It's unnerving because you don't know the root cause
Hmm.
until the day we saw the plant levitate.
Oh my gosh.
And when the plant levitated, we were watching TV one night. Me and Tina, side by side, like you two are sitting,
Hmm.
looking at the TV. Tina has a 4 foot tall entertainment center. I mean, a plant next to the entertainment center,
Hmm.
and it just darts up. It darts up a few inches off the ground and does a 360 spin and falls back to the ground in our direction. Could have been no more than 4 or 5 feet from us.
Oh my gosh.
And we look at it, and I look at Tina. She looks at me, and I'm like, "Did that just happen?" Because I'm so glad Tina was there with me,
Witness it. Yeah.
and rather than come in through the door coming from the store or work, and I have to retell that story because I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure Tina told me to put the Jack Daniels down, or vice versa. But we both saw it, and then we walked to the plant, and we both really thought this is where whoever's pranking us is going to come in and say, "Ha ha ha! You guys moved into the Big Brother house on CBS, or
Or
you got
something. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you guys are on Candid Camera, or
Or
ha
punk
ha ha."
at
Yeah,
no
yeah, we
punk.
thought we were being punked. We're like, wow, we're being punked good, and somebody's gonna walk
Yes.
through the closet, somebody's gonna come through the sliding door, and none of that happened. And therefore, since that did not happen, and there's no remote control devices, there's no electronic wires, there's nothing inside. And I'm an IT guy, and I was like telling Tina, this would be impossible to navigate from outside. If somebody had a remote control device and did all this from the curb outside, trust me, it would be hard to pull off.
Yeah.
Then Tina blurts out, "I think we have a kid ghost." And I look at her and I'm like, yeah. We both like, I think we have a kid ghost because now we're rewinding
Yep.
back to the kid cough. Now we're rewinding back to the kid toys and everything else has transpired.
Mhm.
And the word kid before the word ghost made us not be fearful because we were like,
Yeah.
oh, it's a kid ghost. Now, neither one of us know anything about kid ghosts, but we went to the internet and we looked it up and we talked on Google. How can you tell your house is haunted? What are the outliers? And the top 5 outliers were the things we had already experienced:
Yeah. So
noises,
yeah.
missing objects, found objects, electrical issues,
Oh,
phantom footsteps, voices. And we're like, aha. And then we narrowed our search to kid ghosts. What is that? Is that an omen? Is that bad? I mean, is that bad? Oh, no, kid ghosts all the time. Sometimes they're playful, they're gleeful, they're lost, they're confused.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't know they're dead. Um, if you have one in your home, it happens. What you want to do is talk gingerly to it, talk nicely, take on a parental role,
Absolutely.
and try to guide it into the light. Ask it why it's here.
Yeah.
What's it doing?
Sure.
And we did all of that.
Mhm.
We did all that and above. Um, the response we got was not the response that was told to us by the advice we read online. The response we got is pretty much what made this case what it is. Was things start being thrown in our face. Objects started moving. Mass levitations. More plants being thrown.
Wow.
Loud bangs. And yeah, I mean, if you ask a question, I'll give you an example of why are you here? And all of a sudden, a vase goes flying
Oh my God.
either in front of you or behind you, and you go looking for that vase, and it's obliterated. And you're like, oh, okay, don't ask that question again.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was very interesting.
Now, how long was it from when you moved in and noticed just the little things, a toy appearing here and there, to the point with the plant where it levitated? How
2
far were
months.
you?
I would say 2 months or less.
About 2 months or less.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 months or less.
Wow. So really didn't
About
waste
6
too much
weeks.
time.
No, it was pretty much on day one.
Yeah.
The kid cough and the other things. Keep in mind, we're still packing and moving in. I would say probably by the time I don't have my book in front of me as to the exact date, because I saw the apparition. I want to say August of that same year, that same 2012.
Yeah.
Um, and I also want to say the housewarming party that we had to have been late July, early August, where our friends saw the objects being thrown.
Oh, wow.
Um, so yeah, things were pretty much happening, especially after the plant levitated. Um, we had activity every day.
Yeah. Oh my
It,
God.
it was every day. You come home 5 p.m., watch news, make dinner, and bang, 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 bang. Footstep, 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 footsteps.
Wow.
What's really kind of trippy and interesting is how our kitchen is laid out. Is you have the kitchen, the 6 chairs, and uh, deep in the kitchen is the sink. So when you do your cleaning up, your back is turned to both kitchen and living room. And I tell people, and I described this good in my first book, of you're loading up your dishwasher and your back is turned to everything, pretty much the majority of the house. I could turn around maybe after 10 minutes of just being immensely involved in cleaning up the kitchen or loading up the dishwasher. And I kid you not, items in the home, meaning downstairs, have all been rearranged.
Oh, wow.
The plant that was over here is now over here.
Oh my goodness.
The chairs that were all pulled up to the table are all pulled out. This is after the plant levitated. So Tina's upstairs. So we swapped out during kitchen. And I was like, Tina, come here. Tina thumbers down. And I'm like, look. And she's like, wow. Plant over here, over there. And one day, and I call it a dancing plant or something in my book, I was hearing a lot of ruffling behind me. And I turned around and I didn't hear nothing, or I didn't see nothing. Because Tina has this other tall plant that's in the kitchen. And I turn around, look, the plant's still over there. I turn back around to continue washing dishes. Noise again, commotion behind me. I turn back around. That plant is now in the middle of the kitchen.
Oh, wow.
It's no longer on the wall. It's moved maybe 3 feet in the middle of the kitchen. And this time I just wanted to just discern, because I knew we had a kid ghost. I'm like, oh, the kid ghost is playing with it. So I turn back around and start loading up the dishwasher again. Turn back around. The plant's now on this side. It's made it all the way across. I kid you not.
Wow. So, but with these activities, were you in fear for your life at this point, or were you still thinking, okay, this is just, like you said, this is just a kid
Just a
ghost?
kid ghost. Just a kid ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a kid ghost. We did not start. We got a long way to go before we start being fearful for our lives. I mean, about 2.5 years worth. The only level of fear to where we put the kid ghost theory to bed, meaning to rest, when we said this is more than a kid ghost, was one night me and Tina were upstairs talking in bed, and I think it was the iron or ironing board that flew across the room in the dead of night. And that really surprised us.
Yeah.
We all know irons that you use to iron your clothes are pretty heavy.
Yeah.
They're pointed. I'm a old school, so I have the old fashioned iron.
Mm-hmm.
The stainless steel 5 pound, 6 pounder, and those things traveling at immense speed with that pointed edge,
You could kill somebody.
zipping across your bed. We said no, that's not a kid ghost. No. Yeah. Then we start calling the churches around the neighborhood, because we were like, okay, this is not friendly. Toy trucks on my kitchen counter, one thing. Throwing pointed objects is something else.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So at that point, obviously you're starting to get concerned. I mean, anything flying at you, automatically one would think that, it's not great. I mean, people tend not to throw things at each other unless you're in the proper circumstance, be it a football or a baseball. So obviously, if you're throwing household items, it's not received greatly from people usually. But at this point, when you start going to the local clergy, Are you thinking it's more of a demonic presence or just a bad spirit that can be explained as per a human form?
Uh, I'm trying not to go demonic route. Really, because the advice given to me online is even if it's not demonic,
Mhm.
um, even though the evidence later on shows the contrary, even if it's not demonic, what you put into the air as far as what you think it is, it could turn that way.
Mm.
Exactly.
So me and Tina we were very casual not to pull the demon card yet.
Don't not even go there.
What we were told and what I was raised as a kid, being my mom, my grandmother, my parents, are there are spirits around us. Some are unrestful, some are malevolent. Doesn't necessarily mean outright demonic. You know,
Yes.
there's layers. There's layers. How about that?
Yeah, yeah.
There's layers. So I would tell the clergy and the churches that hey, we got a new house. We just moved in. We would very appreciate it if you would come bless it for us.
Sure, sure.
And all churches are going to leap to that.
Mhm.
And they did. And they would come over. And one church, we did tell them about the activity. And they still came over. And they're like, yeah, it's Bothell. Yeah, spirits, but the Lord is your savior, your protector. And they did. They went from room to room and blessed every part of the house. And that would quell the activity for maybe 48 hours or 72 hours, especially if we had an intermittent of me leaving away for going out of town. And when I went out of town for business, Tina stayed with a friend.
Yeah.
Usually, if we came back in town, I came back in town, Tina came back from her friend's house. The activity takes 2 days to ramp up. You have a lull or a buffer, if you will, because you've been gone. Usually by day three, they're back.
They're
Okay, especially after the blessings that the churches did. So yeah, that's what I would say. But we are going to get there about the demon part because, like I said, things are going to escalate. Whatever this is, it has friends,
Yeah.
I've got a
um,
question actually.
and they are feeding off not only our fear,
Most definitely.
off of our because we're going to overcompensate a lot of things as we go through this journey, me and Tina, of living in this house because we don't know what this is. We're new, and what I always tell people, one of my biggest, or what I hope will be one of my biggest takeaways in both books is malevolent spirits don't suffer fools.
Hmm.
They don't take it easy on you because Keith and Tina, they have no knowledge of the paranormal. Oh, they don't know what they're doing. Okay, we're not going to throw the ironing board today. No, they have no qualms about that. So they're going to run us through the ringer
Mhm.
as if we were anybody else.
Mhm. Now, I had vaguely heard in some research that you had done a little bit of question asking with the past tenants. At what point in this process did you kind of start going into researching the past, asking past pet tenants of the property if they have had any similar issues?
Yeah, good question. So the first person I went to was the homeowner. I asked him probably the fall of that year, 2012. Hey, what's the deal with the house? What's going on? I didn't tell him we were having paranormal activity. I said we were having weird stuff happen,
Yeah, yeah.
and I wanted him to divulge. And by weird, I would tell him, hey, we get a lot of thundering up from the attic. I mean, thundering in the middle of the night, or we get a lot of loud bangs, or whatever. Is there a beam loose? Is there, can you bring a contractor by or whatever? I knew it was none of that. I wanted to see if he would divulge. Of course, he didn't. But he said, you're more than welcome to have contractor or whoever you want, electrical guy, because we were having electrical issues at the yin yang. And he said, just take it out of your rent or whatever, your deposit. So none of that. And then the activity died in 2013. We didn't have no activity at all
Mhm.
for 2013. It was only the time that I reached out for previous tenants and found one was in 2014, summer of, when the activity came back that spring with a vengeance. And I found a previous tenant on Facebook. Her name was Rhonda Jimenez. Um, she's passed away, unfortunately. But I did find her, emailed her, and she confirmed or told me the events that they experienced. And they lived in the house 2008, 2009, before me and Tina obviously arrived. And she described it, and these are her words, not mine. The house was a living hell.
Oh my word.
She said it was the beginning of the end in that place. She said the house destroyed her marriage. She tried to commit suicide 3 or 4 times in the home.
Mm.
And also her son saw shadowy figures at the corner of his eye. Objects moved. They would wake up and find the kitchen cabinets like we did, all open. Their nanny, they had a live-in nanny, quit
Oh.
based due to the activity one morning of the footsteps and coming down, seeing all the cupboards open. And, and to her, the house felt like it was alive. And I totally understood where she was coming from, because you have to understand, when people who have lived in homes like this one, the house is alive. Okay. The walls have eyes, the ceiling, the stairs, the steps, the floor. It's a weird environment to be in and to ascertain, because we sleep, the house never sleeps. And her son got sick. I had a serious fall, tore my right knee. Her son got sick and developed meningitis. Night terrors. Tina had night terrors and nightmares early on that we could never pinpoint as to why. Now we know why. So there's a lot of different stuff. And yeah, the house, like she said, was a living hell.
Oh my.
No, I want to try to take this as chronologically as I can. I want to try to cover the story, especially with you being here, as closely as I can to the source. Of course, being you. So, just as an aside, if we happen to ask a question that kind of pushes us forward, most certainly bring us back if you want to add there. Please do. So the next thing I was kind of wondering about was, obviously, a lot of people's first interaction or first hearing of this incident there in Bothell, of course, would be from the Ghost Adventures team on the television show. So from the time we left off here to that time where the Ghost Adventures team had come in, can you kind of take us up to that point?
Okay, you want to know what happened before Ghost Adventures came, or
up until that point? Are we to that point in the story yet where?
No, we're a long way before Ghost Adventures arrived, because Ghost Adventures arrived November of 2014.
Okay.
Just to fast forward, I can give you this a overall nutshell of the events of 2012. Meaning, we moved in May of 2012. Maybe 6 weeks into it, the plant moved by the TV, and all the other things started happening. Every night from that point on, we experienced the loud banging, the loud thundering of footsteps, doors slamming, a lot of electrical issues, a lot of lights going off and on. I mean, you leave a room, the light's on, you come back, it's off. Okay. Or you leave a room, TV is on, come back, it's off. Items are still coming up missing. Items are still appearing that neither one of us own. One of the things about a poltergeist life, in this case, our poltergeist experience, is the poltergeist up until now does everything I've just told you, and then maybe it's what I call a campaign. Well, campaigns start, but they don't end. The poltergeist will introduce a new phenomena on top of the existing campaign.
Yeah.
So missing objects, objects being found, loud banging, phantom footsteps, and then the new campaign one night will be a new phenomena. Okay, and then that new phenomena joins in sync with the other things, and all that is all synchronized, and it's happening every day, every week, every month. So you have a 3 weeks about where the new campaign is in conjunction with the other existing campaigns before a new campaign gets reintroduced. And by that, I mean new phenomena like I was telling you, the electrical issues and whatnot. And then the objects are getting heavier, they're getting larger. And that may be an indication that the spirits are getting stronger.
Sure.
At the same time, because now we're trying to remove it from the house, and it's objecting to our trying to exercise it out the house.
Yeah.
So it's doing things. We're getting more unnervy, more fearful, more tepid, and it's ratcheting up things. And then finally, at the end of 2012, there's a bell curve going down where the activity is lessening, and it just went total, meaning vacant, toward the end of 2012, and all of 2013 we had no activity. Now keep in mind, one of the major, I guess, in my opinion, teleport or asport or whatever they call it, apporting, where an object disappears and gets relocated elsewhere, was the first Bible. One of the things this case got known for was a series of burning Bibles.
Yeah.
What people don't understand is, and Ghost of Richard sort of painted this wrong in their episode, it was never an episode, it was never about Keith and Tina own Bibles and one day we're just having supper eating meatloaf and macaroni and cheese and the Bible catches fire on our bookshelf. No, we were advised to take whatever religious belief we have and put those books out in the open to ward off the spirit. You know, you read from Psalms, you read from Proverbs, you say the Lord's Prayer, leave the Bible out in the open, advise the spirit to go into the light or leave the house. Well, Bible number 1 went missing toward the end of 2012. Now, that's very important because we had no activity at all in 2013. Bible number 1 is still missing. It was taken from me one night after I saged the house and left it out downstairs, and it's been missing for almost a year and a half now.
Oh my.
When the activity came back in 2014, it came back in a major way. It was no gradual like before. There was no trees or plants moving in the house to say, hey, we're about to come back. No, it's boom, we're back.
Oh.
Okay, no precursor, no warning, no nothing. And it was a crash of an armoire upstairs that brought that point home. So now we're back on the phone calling the paranormal teams, calling the church, and whoever come over here. Everybody's trying to throw this mass troubleshooting at the problem. To one night, me and Tina go to bed, and we're sleeping. It's about 1:30 in the morning, and we're awoken to the fire alarms. This is 2014, spring of, and I open up my bedroom door, and there on the floor is the Bible that went missing in 2012. It's on fire. Okay, there are flames on this book.
Oh my God.
Okay, I don't know it's the Bible yet though. All I know is there's a book in front of my bedroom door that's illuminating the entire hallway, and it's on fire.
Yeah.
Tina's right behind me, and the fire alarms are wailing. And you know, fire in a home at any time of day is frightening.
No shit.
Fire in a home that wakes you up is even more terrifying.
Yeah, definitely.
So I close the book with my foot. That extinguishes the fire. Okay, problem solved. I then notice, oh, I know this book. This is my Bible. This is the Bible that I put on the lamp table a year and a half ago. And it's all smothered and obliterated, and the smoke and everything is everywhere. Pages are flying in the air. And I pick it up, and I felt a bulge in it. It was something in it. I was like, wait a minute. There's something in here. So I open up the Bible, and there's a cross yay big that I had bought online on Amazon about a week prior. It was a wooden cross. It came from Jericho, Jerusalem. And we put it over our bed as a protection. And I can tell you now that when we went to bed that night, that cross was over our headboard. Now the cross has been removed in our moment of sleep, and was in the bulging Bible or the burning Bible, and they're both scorched. I mean, they're both gone. So yeah, that's the story of Bible number 1 catching fire.
Wow.
And Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, uh, are blown away about that aspect. But like I said, there's two more Bibles that are going to catch fire in a few days after that.
That's terrifying. Terrifying. Oh my gosh. So yeah, it was definitely trying to send you a message then, like, hey, we're back and
Yeah, this
yeah,
is this is the. I mean, wherever people want to, this is the psychic warfare, spiritual warfare, paranormal warfare of taking your religious belief. I mean, what better way to tell you, the house occupants, that the spirits, are invincible by burning your Bible?
sure,
I
sure.
mean, I was using an analogy the other day of it's like a werewolf spitting out silver bullets. He's
Oh,
like,
definitely.
he can keep them coming, and they have no effect on me.
Yeah.
And it's a psychological warfare because keep in mind, the spirits are trying to beat us down.
Oh yeah.
You know, they're they're gaining strength off our fear, off things that you grow up from, infant to child to adolescent to teenager to young adult to an adult, and you hear all sorts of things growing up in your life, and they form you as a human being to where now you're face to face with an unknown that's taken all those things you've incorporated that make you who you are, and it's throwing it back in your face.
Yeah, yeah. Your
It's like
core
your
foundations.
core foundation is throwing back at you like Bibles. Hey, kid, you can bring them all in every day. I'm going to burn every last one of them. And
Yeah,
it did. And it did. And your mind, and you think, oh my God, this is devil. This is Lucifer. He's burning Bible. Oh my God. And you're looking for help. You're looking for, okay, do I need to put two Bibles next to each other? Do I need to bring in the holy water? I mean, I can
get rid of this.
chop down the biggest tree in the world and carve it into a cross. Will that work?
Yeah.
And the Spirit's like, hey, we got all day. We got all day.
And that's terrifying. Terrifying.
Yeah, it's the unknown that terrifies you because keep in mind, this was right outside our bedroom door. The cross that went missing or was put inside the Bible was right above our headboard.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, you can't get most close proximity than that. I might as well could have had the cross under my pillowcase and it could have took it.
A very
Yeah.
intimate situation, being asleep, being not close
That's
to
what I
you.
was just gonna say too. I mean, what if
Yeah,
your smoke alarm wouldn't for what would have malfunctioned? I mean, anything could happen, and
yeah,
you wouldn't have been awakened. You know,
yeah. It's all those variables
think
rolled
about
into one that you think about. Like, wow,
Mhm.
what could have happened.
wow,
Oh my
you know.
gosh.
So
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
So it was at this point then that you guys knew, okay, you know what, we need some help, like now.
we need spiritual help.
Yeah,
We're outside of the realm of
we know to do.
printing instructions out online.
Yeah.
We called the Catholic Church. We called Seattle Catholic Church. They gave us Bothell, and Bothell gave they gave us a runaround for a while, but finally, after the poster caught fire in the office, a few weeks after that, me and Tina sat in the Bothell Catholic Church office and said, "We're not leaving until you see us."
Sure.
And then they saw us, and we had to tell them the story from start to finish, from 2012
Yeah.
to everything. They got pens and pads, and they're like da 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 da. And they got everything's about process, right? So they got a process, they got a protocol that they have to start from. From a house occupant, it looks a little bit, too slow. You want them to come in there with the holy water and the fire extinguisher and just blaze the house, sandblast it with holy water. That's how they do it in the movies, right?
Yeah.
No, no. Here they got to come in, they got to fact find, they got to like interview you for 4 hours, they got to weigh the evidence, and you're like, oh my gosh, dude, it's only 24 hours in the day.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna go back. I got to live here, but yeah. So there's a protocol, and it takes a while to gain momentum. But yeah, this is spirit. We need bigger guns, if you will, bigger spiritual guns.
Good
We
idea.
thought, we thought, yeah,
Definitely. Definitely. So so yeah, it's safe to say that around this time you guys are really feeling kind of beat down and drained and everything else.
yeah. We are. I mean, we're beat down, but we're not to the point of cutting losses.
Yeah, yeah. You're not completely broken.
We're not broken to the say that one of the conversations me and Tina had, it was a very important conversation. The night we left the Catholic Church. We came back because this was after the poster caught fire. And that was a very direct onslaught because Tina was away from the home. She had just left, and I was taking a shower. And the poster in my office, or the fire alarm, started going off again. And I ran out, and my poster was on fire. So that led to us going to the Catholic Church. When we got home, and the priest advised us. So his advice to me was heavy on my mind to where I said, I'm going to stick it through.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not going to be run out of my own house. But I said, we're boyfriend and girlfriend. I can't make that decision alone for you. You can stay, leave, or whatever. I'm going to stay. Because at that time, the priest's like, stand your ground. The Lord is with you. We're with you. And if these things follow you, what have you gotten out of what have you got from that? So I said, I'm gonna stand my ground. We got the church backing us. At the same time, I'm naive in the sense of we still haven't clarified or classified what this is. From a church point of view, being all things are either God or the devil.
True.
You guys are dealing with negative, demons or whatever, and that's fine. I get it. However, there's going to be things that we do moving forward that's going to ratchet the activity a lot more. And as you see, or as you learn more about this story through this journey, and there's multiple journeys within this story, you're going to see, as me and Tina are given advice by the church now to do things in their absence, because they can't be in the home 24/7. We are. You're going to see one of us take on a more role and responsibility of trying to move the spirits out of the house. And that person is going to be me. And as I'm taking on more of the roles and responsibility, be it 57 or 43%, the spirits are going to start focusing on me.
Oh, sure.
Keith calls the church more to get help. Keith is always looking up the paranormal teams to help. We need to focus on him more. And there's going to be a transition late 2014, probably around the time Ghost Adventures arrived, of we're no longer haunting the house around Keith and Tina. We're haunting Keith.
Yeah. Oh my
and I can tell you from our spirit's point of view, that's what they've been trying to do all along.
Sure.
They want to narrow one person down. Rhonda, the previous tenant, bless her heart, may she rest in peace, was the focal point of that household for her. As they navigate toward me and make me the focal point, they're also building up walls between me and my girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're really isolating. They're very slow. I'm a fan of Wild Kingdom. I used to watch those old shows of Wild Kingdom growing up and Discovery Channel, where you watch how the lions look at the zebra and the gazelle, and they're like, "That's our huckleberry. That's the one we want."
Yep.
Now, the goal and all the lions are looking at, the goal is we ain't got to outrun them. We got to isolate them. If we can get that zebra away from the other 50 or 800 zebras and have it running over there, it's ours. And that's how poltergeists or malevolent spirits work.
Oh, yeah.
If we can cut him from her, get them at odds, fighting, bickering, accusatory tone, whatever, because they're sleep deprived. We're oppressing them. They're going to overcompensate. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to blame each other. And we did. We didn't know. We did. That's not in the book on how to survive poltergeists of, arguing and the minuscule arguments. I thought you was going to call the priest. Said, oh, no, I got busy at work. Well, I'm always the one calling the priest. The priest told us we both have to do everything together. I'm praying. I'm always the one leading the prayers. You never want to pray. I'm too tired to pray. Or da-da-da-da-da. Those little things, and the spirits are just chewing at the bit, like, yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, and also, getting the both of you to go at odds against each other is just creating even more negative energy within the home. Because
Oh, activity would spike after disagreements and arguments.
oh, sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Now, how many you said calling in that you had went to the church and that you had gotten a hold of different paranormal teams to come in and try to do something about this? How many people would you say that you had called in over the course of this time to try to get someone, to get some kind of help with this?
Locally, between 5 to 7 paranormal teams.
Wow. And
Um, Locally, yeah,
locally,
and by locally I mean Greater Seattle area, um, even Eastern Washington,
mhm.
Spokane, Washington, uh, Northern Portland, paranormal teams. 2 paranormal teams belong to the University of Washington.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm dialing, and I learned, and it's kind of funny and sad. Even that plays a role in the activity. I learned all paranormal investigators are not created equal.
I was just going to ask you that.
I
Yeah.
learned not all paranormal teams know what the hell they're doing.
Oh, so true.
They're making up as they go. They're literally imitating what they see on TV.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And going back to what I said about the spirits, does not suffer fools. If
Hmm.
I call the team in and that team is just mimicking
What they,
Ghost Hunt or whatever, the spirits is not going to say, "Ah, too bad for Keith." It's gonna make me pay for that.
yeah. So what have you noticed then? I was just going to ask you this too. After a team would come in, would you see a decrease in activity, or would the increase go the opposite end, and you'd see like even more things, more things happening after they would leave?
An increase. And let me tell you how the spirits benefit off of an ill team coming in. And not all teams are ill, but a lot of them were. But the spirit benefits off that because the spirit and the team saw phenomena. Okay, they saw phenomena, but the spirit is going to raise the activity as soon as they leave. It's going to make either me or Tina pay the price or have a conversation as to why do we call that team in the first place. Tina might blame me of, well, you called that team or you didn't vet them enough or they were not what we thought they were. In that discussion of, and that makes you nervous about calling the next team. And the spirit, like I said, is going to make something happen to where, we pay the price for bringing a team in.
Yeah.
And that in itself hurt a lot. I mean, that hurt a lot. I can honestly say the biggest hurt probably came from the biggest team to come in the house was Ghost Adventures,
Yeah.
because when they came in, um, which is November 2014, the spirits that were slowly pivoting mainly toward me, but we had several fires before they arrived. I'm talking about days before they arrived, and the wall writings. A lot of the wall writings happened before they arrived, and Ghost Adventures, the producers of the show before they arrived, said, uh, "Can y'all not paint over those wall writings?" Me and Tina were constantly doing damage control and cleanup because we were advised when the spirits write on your walls, those obscene, demonic languages and stuff. You don't want to see that every day. So we were painting over that. However, um, they Ghostman said, "Well, no, we want to see that for ourselves. We want to come in there and get some shots of that." So we didn't paint over it. I thought one of the reasons why they didn't want us to paint over it was they were going to take some of the wall analysis with them
Oh, yeah.
to test it to see where that stuff came from. I did not know they were going to reverse switch and paint a picture on the show as to one of us or somebody spray painted that on there, because I'm not a spray painter, I'm not a paint expert, and I know just glancing over that may look like spray paint, but I bought spray painters in. I'm talking about people who've done this for 30 odd years,
Yeah.
and none of them says if you look at that that could be done by spray paint. They said the longevity it would take for them to do that with 5 men would be weeks, if not months.
Yeah.
So I was hurt by the episode airing that, but so yeah, paranormal teams did come. We called them locally, and we branched out. And Ghost Adventures found us. We didn't find them. The local media caught wind of our story and attracted Dave Schrader. So yeah.
And it's really, really unfortunate. I kind of spoke about in the episode this week about this incident of how the give and take between the time of production and then what one would consider production value in getting what would sell. And it's very unfortunate on the back end of that the limited amount of time that one would have in that production time to make however long that episode would have been, make a judgment call on the evidence that they had seen and the time they have to put into it. And I don't mean to outwardly jump ahead real quick, but that was for me the deciding the biggest difference between that and Mr. Phillips and Mr. Merritt coming in the Demons in Seattle documentary that you had posted in the group there.
Yeah, I mean, and I tell people, and because it's factual, Ghost Adventures, we're only in the home 5 hours.
That's what I
And by 5 hours, that's all they investigated. There are 2 teams that arrive at a location from Ghost Adventures. It's the A team, which is Zach and crew, and the B team, but not in that order. B team arrived to our home Monday through Thursday. Ghost Adventures, meaning the A team, kind of weird, arrived Thursday and left Thursday. That's all they're there for. They got an episode they're trying to get off the ground. So they're going to do B-roll, reenactments. And that's fine. I get that. However, I really thought, and this was told to me, so I had a right to think this, that we're gonna get to the truth of this. I knew, and I told Tina this. I doubt they're going to get the evidence they want the first go around. The way this house is set up, this is a long-term thing. Now, if they want to establish a beachhead, come in with some equipment and make a first round at this and revisit, fine. Go for it. And that's kind of, if you saw the documentary, what Steve and Dawn did. Steve and Dawn told me early on, I mean, besides the fact that they came in from the UK, that we're going to live in the house, dude. Right? I mean, it's not a point of we're going to have our hotel in Bothell and come over there a few hours out the day because when we know you're home, because we know you got a life. No. We're going to come in there and live in the house. So I had to arrange with my employer the option to work from home for the duration of their investigation.
Oh, wow.
And I would have done that easily with Ghost Adventures, but the question was never asked. So I mean, and so there is the lesson in the story of living 2.5 weeks, which Stephen Merritt did and Dawn did for 2 trips, and they bought Nick Kyle the second time, as well as Nikki Novell and her team when they lived in the house 3.5 weeks.
Wow.
2 weeks compared to 5 hours is nothing, especially if coming into it, and Ghost Adventures knew this, that for 2013 we had no activity. There's none. So if a spirit can go a year and maybe 3 months without acting up, 5 hours is nothing.
Exactly. Well said.
I mean, nothing. So.
And we vaguely kind of brushed over just a little bit because I didn't want to get into the negative aspects of it, especially not being in communication with anybody directly related to the case. But did you find that the character assassination, especially kind of talked about in the Demons in Seattle documentary, did that start with this Ghost Adventures team before, after?
You mean the documentary, or
well, because you had kind of experienced some negative feedback from a lot of the stories you were telling and a lot of the evidence that was coming out about this. That I guess it was my assumption kind of happened at some point, correct? And when was that point that kind of started happening?
It came after the Demons in Seattle episode that we started getting beat up on social media. The case was pretty much localized until that airing.
Oh, gotcha.
What we did not know, and I did not know, was as a result of how the episode was portrayed. See, I'm the benefit of me and Tina had is we are there while they're shooting. We're there while I'm talking to Zach. I'm talking to Dave. I'm talking to Aaron, all the other guys. They're really intrigued by the phenomena. They're really fascinated. They're asking me questions you guys are asking me, and I'm answering them. I'm taking Zach and them through the hallway, the office. They're holding the burnt Bibles in their hand. They're seeing the poster, the fires, and all that. The bedroom. Nobody's asking us like what you saw on the episode. Nobody's drilling us, putting us on the defensive.
Gotcha.
All that's done in post production.
Mhm.
That's what surprised. It was almost like two teams were there when I finally saw the episode air.
Yeah.
I was like, "Whoa, we look." So I know, and I tell people, had they found one piece of evidence, the episode people saw would have been different.
Yeah.
The show comes in, and they can make a show go anywhere direction they want it to go, based on what they find or don't find. I never fault any team, Ghost Adventures included, for not finding evidence, because you're dealing with the paranormal.
Yeah, true.
You're chasing lightning in a jar. My beef is how you allowed us to be portrayed. Because keep in mind, there were teams that we were talking to and working with who went totally off the grid after that episode aired. Because the teams that we were talking to that were really intrigued and working with us from afar, some of us from near, their biggest aspiration is to one day be featured on Ghost Adventures.
Oh, wow.
Therefore, if Ghost Adventures been to the house and didn't find anything, that must mean either two things. There's nothing there, or Keith is lying.
Yeah.
Most people, and I still don't know why people leap to the conclusion that Keith and Tina are lying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Me, who never dealt in the paranormal and never understood or knew poltergeists in particular, have now did a lot of research on my own about poltergeist activity. And the phenomenon known as poltergeist goes back centuries.
Oh, definitely.
None of the phenomena me and Tina have reported is outside the realm or has not been reported before by other families. And I'm talking about centuries ago. We're not the first family to have a poltergeist burn our Bibles or throw objects at us. So I'm always off put when people look at me and say, "Oh, that's too impossible. Oh, no ghost can do that." And I'm like, number one, it's not a ghost. And number two, if you really understood poltergeist behavior, you would understand none of what I told you is out of the norm.
Exactly.
And that's what attracted me to Steve and Dawn, is when I told them stuff, it fit within the norm of poltergeist behavior. The only thing that they were astonished by as a researcher, and that's fine, is the level of frequency. But that's not a detriment to you and Tina. That was a detriment to Ghost Adventures.
Yeah.
And Steven, like, oh no, that's unusual. Therefore, we have to come in for a closer look, and we'll ascertain for ourselves. But the paranormals who were here locally, captured and witnessed phenomena, they just did not know how to get rid of it, and they just never seen it before. I mean, their cup runneth over with chairs moving, loud bangs, phantom footsteps, and they saw this with their own eyes. But like I said, most of them were just imitating what they saw on TV. So, it's like that. I use that analogy of, you tell the coach on the sideline, "Coach, put me in the game. I'll catch that pass. I'll win that game for us, coach. I just need the ball to come to me." Well, me and Tina are the quarterback. So you've asked me to put you in the game. You're in the game now, and I throw the ball to you. I mean, I give this case to you, and you fumble it.
Yep.
You juggle it in your hand, and that's what a lot of paranormals did, because it was just so overwhelming to them. They could not put it anywhere. Steve and Dawn could, because...
Oh, we're losing you.
Uh-oh.
Can you see me?
Nope. You're kind of blocked out. You're better than you were.
I see you guys.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, we're good. Yes, even our viewers that are commenting on the side here, totally agree with all of us. 5 hours is definitely not enough time to, come in. That's almost like a fast food thing. You just real quick. Something doesn't happen. Okay, we're out of here. That is
right.
definitely not enough time by any means.
And on top of that, like I said, the biggest detriment would be that character assassination with a
Yeah.
limited amount of time. Let's be honest. If you don't have the time, you don't have the time.
Yeah.
But it's super unfortunate that with such a
Right.
big audience that
Yeah.
relies on their opinions with what they're trying to sell, for someone to make a judgment call of the lack of that time being spent, that was super unfortunate for me when I heard it. And
Yeah.
Yeah, if you put on your disclaimer at the end of the episode or before, hey, we were there 5 hours, we were there, we gave it our best, didn't get anything, doesn't mean and I said this in my book. This is how you gain credibility within the paranormal community. I'm not talking about Zach fans. I'm talking about paranormal community. This is how you gain credibility. Say, hey, we were not there that long. I'm not going to say there's nothing happening, but the time window we were having there, we didn't get it, and that's unfortunate with poltergeist cases. But it's also to be expected with poltergeist cases. Another thing, and Steve Murray even commented when he's interviewed, is every case is different in any paranormal case. Every case is its own snowflake, right?
Yeah.
So a show that has a format of we got to do a lockdown, and our lockdown says that whoever's here has got to leave, and we got to have the house to ourselves. That does not fly in poltergeist investigations. Poltergeist is not a house haunting. It's a haunting of the people.
Yes.
Okay? They're the equation. You want to not disturb as much of the environment as possible. Therefore, you do not take the home occupants and say, you're going to go to a hotel and we're going to have the house to ourselves for the remainder of the night. Because Steve even says it better than me. You're shooting yourself in the foot when you do that. If you notice with all the other teams who lived in the house, that's why I was there. Now, I'm not in their way. I'm not looking over their shoulders. I'm just here to unlock doors and order pizza and make coffee. That's all I'm there for to do. The house is theirs. If you got a question, I'll answer it for you. But I'm really over here. And if you saw the documentary, you'll see that's how I was pretty much relegated. So, and that's fine. But nowhere in the equation does Steve and Dawn say, we need the house to ourselves because you got to go live elsewhere, because you're changing the phenomena. Even though I'm not the phenomena, I'm probably there while the phenomena is happening.
I think we're back. Uh-oh, I think we lost Keith.
Yeah, Jerry inviting him.
Let's try.
Ugh. Sorry, guys.
Sorry about this, you guys. Never before have we ever lost internet. Never. And then twice now.
Today.
It did this a half an hour before we started the interview, and now it did it again. So super weird. There's Keith.
Wow. Can you see me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I was just telling everybody, never before have we ever lost internet. Never before. It did this a half an hour before our show today, and then it just did it again. That is like flipping me out.
Augmented our internet package to help with this issue.
Oh, yeah.
So we do apologize to everybody, and you, Keith. I'm very sorry.
Sorry. That's
okay.
Weird.
So let's jump back into it real quick. I don't want to lose any more time with you. I'm sorry. So sorry again.
Sorry.
So by this time, kind of picking up the pieces, I imagine that was kind of, in a way, detrimental to your mentality with this kind of backlash from I don't want to call it negligence, but at the same time, like that's kind of what it was in a situation, especially when, like I said, the audience that they get to and how they're held with their audience, that had to have been a detriment to your mentality. I mean, now you have people, I assume, outwardly question you in multiple fashions. So what from this point do you do?
Yeah, it's very demoralizing.
Sure.
One of the things, I mean, when you're dealing with the paranormal like this, it's a problem you did not need to have, because this goes into the mood of both me and Tina. This goes into the mood of the house. The only thing that's going to benefit from this demoralization is the spirits, and they're going to take things up a little bit further as a result of this. Yeah, help vanished. Going back to that isolation thing again.
Yeah.
People folded up their tents, took their K2 meters, EMF devices, and went elsewhere. Uh, Keith and Tina's problem. Oh well, one of y'all, finger pointing. So at that point, we've not solved any problem at all,
Yeah.
and now the spirits are going to ratchet up a notch. So yeah, and then like I said, it was not coincidental. Within a week of that episode airing, that me and my girlfriend broke up. Tina had enough of the phenomena and enough of the paranormal community. Um, Me being the only one left in the house now it's just me. Um, I have two questions I'm more worried about. What's going to happen to me living in the house by myself? And should I just cut my losses and run and just be done with this place? But at that time, I had already started having activity elsewhere, at work, at hotels, when I
Sure.
travel on business. So I knew for a fact that it was not going to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Um,
got to deal with it now. It's attached to you now.
I got to deal with it now.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah. So teams reached out to me, the Silver Cloud, which ended up being the silver lining of the dark cloud. There was a team on the East Coast that reached out to me after seeing the episode, and they were very sincere in
Oh,
wanting to get to the bottom of this. Um, at the same time, while they're helping me from afar by house monitoring, capturing the phenomena, and they caught some good phenomena from afar, and
oh,
then
nice.
they, like them, like Steve and Dawn, came and lived in the house for 3.5 weeks. I started spending my free time away from the house because it was just fearful going home
Sure.
at night when you pull up to your driveway or to the street that you live on, and this happened several times. The garage door goes up as you're making your right turn onto the street you live on, or the garage goes down as you park into the garage and you not touch the garage door opener or closer. So I spent a lot of times in the library looking up poltergeist phenomena, and I saw one of the questions in the chat as to what makes it poltergeist phenomena. Poltergeist phenomena is an interesting haunting amongst all other hauntings in the sense of the theory as to what is a poltergeist is varied,
Uh-huh.
and has varied over time. One of the beliefs right now is poltergeists tend to be tied to an adolescent or a female or an agent. The code word is agent.
Hmm.
Um, that's a majority of poltergeist cases as defined now. It's not all. What doesn't get talked about in poltergeist cases is that 5 to 10% of cases that has something to do with the land
Yes.
underneath the house. Uh, Poltergeist, by its definition, means noisy ghost. Doesn't mean teenage, adolescent going through trouble or going through puberty.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
means noisy ghost. So you can have a lot of different aspects fall into that bucket and fit the definition of a noisy ghost. And that's poltergeist based on the word polter and geist. So the land in conjunction started being studied more because we didn't talk about the wall writings in my office. A lot of those wall writings were written in pictogram or calligraphy Native American symbols,
Oh, yeah.
particularly the upside down man. If you saw some of the pictures, you see the upside down stick figure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that means something. If it took a while, but we did find out an upside down man, and your listeners can Google it, means a man has died or a man is about to die. It's a Native
Oh,
American symbol of what they carve onto when somebody has died, generally by smallpox or by death or murder.
oh
It's
my
not
God.
a it's not something you will leave on a Native American marker or burial site if death was natural. Death generally has to be controversial.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's what the upside down symbol is for. So that's a clue. And the substance, meaning the black stuff that it was used to write, has to be analyzed. And it was by me, by a lab at the company that I work for. We analyzed the substance. I work for a computer manufacturing company, and the lab, after seeing my story on TV, reached out to me and said, because they knew me, and they was like, "Dude, we didn't know you was having this many problems, but you're more than free to bring that stuff to work, and we'll love to test it for you."
Oh, how awesome.
And as a favor to me, they have no interest in the paranormal, but as a favor to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And it came back organic. The substance using what is called an XRF XRD gun. This is a technology that was invented right before the Mars rover, when they sent the rover to Mars, of how we're going to be able to test these substances on Mars and send it back straight to Earth. So this XRD gun is using some sort of radioactive technology to be able to test the material. It has a 99.99% accuracy as to naming the substance. The substance that came back was, there's no metals, there's no paint material in it. However, we're getting organic matter, we're getting organic reading, we're getting phosphorus, calcium, and there's nothing metal in whatever it is that's on your wall.
Huh.
So that was interesting. You cannot find this substance in your local Home Depot or Lowe's or paint store. Once again, going back to how the knee-jerk reaction for some was, it's spray paint. Spray paint is not made with organic material.
Right.
So that was interesting. I started shopping the makeup that they gave me. They gave me a little print sheet of the makeup of the substance. So I started calling the local art galleries near and far and giving them a readout what I had. I would show them the wall substance. I said it's black. It feels acrylic. It's adhesive, hard to remove, can bleed through paint relatively well. And I gave them what the XRD gun produced. And the response from the art galleries, not all but some, was, that's bone black. Now, I've never heard of bone black. Not too many people have. But once again, we have to pay attention to whatever the spirit gives us, because these are clues. So if you Google bone black, and the proper name is bone char. Now, the word bone should start raising eyebrows to people, because we're going back to that phosphate, that calcium deposit, and whatnot again. Bone black, aka bone char, is incinerated bison, buffalo, or cowbone.
Oh, wow.
How it's derived is, you take bison or buffalo bone primarily, and you incinerate it to where it becomes a black powder. This black powder, when it's incinerated at that degree of temperature, produces its own binding agent called Dippel's oil. Which Dippel's oil is a yellow, like canola-like substance. Bone black is used by Native Americans for their pictograms or calligraphy, being that it produces its own adhesive, and it's relatively easy to paint on the surface. It's incinerated buffalo or bison bone. It's been used on both sides of the continent by natives going back countless years. Native Americans use it here. It didn't become popularized until the mid-1800s in North America, until the mass extermination of the American buffalo. Remember, the American buffalo was almost gone extinct. Well, what almost happened, or what did happen, if you ever saw the movie Dancing with Wolves, Kevin Costner, he paints a good portrait of how that time period was with the buffalo. Back then, buffalo was primarily killed for its hide, right? That's all it was used for. So throughout North America, during the wild plains, the bones were left out on the plains, everywhere. It was later discovered through, I guess, collection of bones, that we can make a profit or a commodity by the bones themselves, by burning them and incinerating them and selling the remnants of that as black paint, which is called bone black. Bone black is a color to artists and art galleries, Rembrandt, Picasso, and others. It was a favorite form of black paint for its pigmentation. So the bone was converted to that to bone black. Um, that's what was on my office on the upside down man's symbols, which once again is a clue as to why an upside down man, why your house, Keith, why Bothell. Um, if you research the city of Bothell, Washington, you'll understand heavy population of Native Americans occupied pretty much this entire country, obviously, but also Bothell, Washington, early 1800s. A lot of them died from smallpox.
Yeah.
There were mass deaths in Bothell, Snohomish County, other counties in Puget Sound, where Native Americans were just died by the mass 500s, 100,000. I think the overall count was 550,000 in a relatively short time. So that was interesting. Steve and Dawn would uncover some other facts with the EVPs that they captured, where a majority of the EVPs were Irish accent. Most EVPs you hear today, like I said, you can discern, but an Irish accent in 2016. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Once again, we got to go back to the history of Bothell. During the time of Native Americans living in Bothell, when Bothell was founded, Bothell had a high population of Irish settlers. They were migrating from Europe, and they established themselves in Bothell. Well, guess who they ran into and had wars with? The Native Americans.
For sure.
A lot of murders on both sides. The city of Seattle, which is named after Chief Seattle, was founded for that very reason. That's why the city bears his name. It was in form of one of the peace treaties with the Native Americans, because he was instrumental in settling the war between Native and the settlers at that time. So once again, these things, like I said, were heavily overmissed by Ghost Adventures. And I only mention them again, it's because on their episode, they said their research did not find any Native Americans ever living in the Bothell area. That's totally false. Going back to what you said of as this ghost negligence, anybody who's listening to this can Google. Don't trust me. Please don't trust me. Trust your own research and research Bothell, Washington. And you're not going to spend a whole day on it. I guarantee you, you'll find it in 5 minutes.
Yep, yep.
Bothell had Indians and Native Americans living here in the city of Bothell.
Mm-hmm.
So compare that to Dave and Zach's statement of we could not find any evidence of Native Americans living in and around Bothell, and you would know that it was never about, this whole case was on their, and their mindset was never about truly getting to the facts. It was never about finding the root cause. And that's not me throwing a shot at them. That's them throwing a shot at themselves.
Yeah. The information is there. You just have to go and look for it.
Have to just go and look for it. I found it relatively in a quick amount of time. People will have to see the episode air who live here, send it to me, and I was just blown away as to how that could have easily been missed. Because it's an easy thing to do in today's time, is to go back and find what was here. But to actually just outright say it, like I said, they said it, not me. They introduced it. I'm just reintroducing it because I'm correcting what they got wrong.
Exactly.
Now let's flip this to the other side here, because the general feelings and the approaches that I had kind of seen with Mr. Phillips and Mr. Mara were seemingly in stark contrast to that. I mean, especially with the documentary that you had posted in the group, taking logic into account, recreating events that had happened. How did you feel about that situation in contrast with the Ghost Adventures?
Oh, I was ecstatic. I mean, I was on cloud nine, only because you know how you go into a doctor's office and sometimes you like the doctor don't know what he's doing, but when you go to a doctor's office and the doctor knows exactly what he's doing and he's taking care of all your ills, you feel like you're in good hands.
Yeah.
What I appreciated about Steve and Dawn's method of investigation is they knew before they came to the house that poltergeists are known to be elusive.
Oh, sure.
They are purposely will avoid detection by the investigator. Steve said, we know that going in, therefore, we have countermeasures that takes care of that.
Yeah.
You can't arrive on a scene and make it up as you go. Not with poltergeists. So he said, we're not going to come in there because you see it on TV and load the house up with infrared cameras. That's just not how we roll.
Yeah.
We're going to come in there and we're going to sweep the house. We're going to look for anomalies and all that stuff. And we're just going to set up listening devices that are so sensitive that they can hear a pin drop 500 yards away.
Oh my God.
And then we're going to go room to room, and everything that you've told us, Keith, that you've experienced, we're going to try to find data to support that.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're getting poked and prodded in the bed, you're getting your sheets yanked off you while you're sleeping. Okay, we'll spend 2 days in your room, not sleeping, 2 days investigating. We're going to set up devices. We're going to take readings. One of the readings Stephen Don picked up was a 9 milligauss reading after a device was thrown from the bed to the floor. Another one was a weird anomaly that appeared on the wall that stayed there 3 hours or more, that showed up on the flare detector. Another reading, or Steve set up passive, not infrared, passive infrared tripwire that the spirits in my house had never experienced passive. I had been loading the house up with just straight up infrared. Steve came in there with the 80s passive infrared devices, and the spirits could not negotiate that well. They set all of them off. And when he responded to that, he even talks about it in the video of, you hear the pitter patter of them running away from the stair landing, and you can hear it like as loud as day, and they're setting off tripwires as they're running in the opposite direction. 436 EVPs they captured their first time in the home. Majority of them were Class A. And I'm hearing these voices, and they're like you and I talking. 2 male voices. Some of the female voices were what I call very ambient, angelic, soft tone female voices. One of the things Steve and Dawn were able to do with all the voices that they captured was put it through, and this is because I don't understand the device, but it's some sort of voice synthesizer that can augment male and female voices. See, all of us, you and me, and every human being on the planet, based on our 2 sexes, male and female. Female voices, by majority, have a different octave level, a higher. Male, we have a more lower. The voices that they've captured are above both extremes. They're outside the spectrum of both female and male octave level, which is weird.
Yeah.
That in itself, especially the female voices and some of the things that the voices are saying. Every voice that Steve and Dawn captured, the voices are relatively talking about us, meaning whoever's in the room. Steve and Dawn, me, the equipment, what's being used. So the spirits are watching us as we set up equipment. And Steve and Dawn go out through the investigation. One thing they don't have to worry about is always trying to conduct an EVP session. They got listening devices that are running 24/7 that'll do that for them. All they have to do is review that later. It's kind of boring because you got 5 weeks of audio to review, but you got to do it, right?
Yeah, true.
Comes with the territory. But you find a treasure trove of stuff. And then you verify that when you go, because you got equipment over here, tripod camera over there. And science tells us that if one I guess microphone picks it up, the one over there a few feet away should pick it up too. And it did. Sometimes louder, which may suggest the spirit was closer to that microphone than this one. And sometimes it didn't pick it up, which makes it almost impossible, because if you and I talked in a room with 3 microphones are going to pick it up. In this instance, sometimes 2 out of 3 picked it up. Sometimes 1 out of 3 picked it up. Sometimes 3 out of 3 picked it up. So those are the things that blew their mind. But yeah, to answer your question, I knew, and maybe because, like I said, they had done this for 30 odd years. Parapsychologists, kind of from my observation of how they conduct their research, I ain't gonna say it's more analytical, because Nikki and her team did the same thing and got the same amount of results. But they both came in with the mindset of, we know what the spirits are going to do, but we got countermeasures for that. Okay. If every team that's coming to the house is trying the same thing, the spirits know that. See, Zach and them came in and did the same thing that the local teams did, was to set up infrared cameras in every room and monitor from the garage. Well, the spirits know that. They see that. Okay. But Steve and Don didn't set up not one camera. If you notice, you don't see any camera set up in the documentary other than the one they're using to film the documentary.
Yeah.
You have one?
Are you drawing a blank now?
I had it. And
I know. I was just like,
I got engrossed into what you were saying.
That's what I was doing.
And it was popping right on out there.
Yeah, exactly. So, but they were definitely able to substantiate your claims. You know, them catching all this evidence. They were like, hey, this guy's not lying. This stuff is really happening.
Yeah, I mean, Steve and Don traveling 10,000 miles from the UK to Seattle twice.
Yeah.
They have colleagues in their field like everybody else, and they told me before they made the trip, they're like, "Hey, we're going to investigate. We report what we find. We report what we don't find. If we don't find anything, there's nothing to report. But we're going to say we didn't find anything. If we find hoaxing, we report hoaxing."
Yep.
And that's fine. I can live with that.
Yeah, we can appreciate
I can appreciate if you find trickery, hoaxing, foolery. I'm not on the up and up. I'm evasive. Me, I don't have to worry because you're not going to find that.
Yeah.
I've been upfront honest, but I like you putting that out there.
Yeah.
What people don't understand was the contrast between Ghost Adventures and the Steve and Dawn is Zach and them didn't find any evidence of hoaxing. They didn't find any evidence of foolery or trickery.
Yeah.
They just didn't find any evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can't say, I think there's hoaxing or trickery or over-exaggeration going on when you didn't find any of that.
Yeah.
You know, and you can watch the episode and you can see they did not find anything. An innuendo is still an innuendo. It's not fact. It's an innuendo. It's conjecture. It's supposition.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they did. And Steve and Don were very honest. And it's like, well, we found some, therefore we're going to report. Now, Don will always tell people, we were not there when Bibles caught on fire. We were not there when chairs levitated. Yeah. We don't say that didn't happen. That did not happen while we were there.
Yeah.
And they also will say, that's not supposed to happen while we're there.
Yeah.
It's rarely are the investigators are going to be there. Remember, investigators respond after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
We got the phenomena, meaning the anomalies that we detected, which supports what he's experiencing. Okay? Of course, Bibles are going to burn when him and Tina are there. It's just him and Tina.
Yeah.
We didn't come in there bringing Bibles. We had no Bible on our person when we arrived at SeaTac Airport. We come there to investigate Key's Bibles and analyze them and look at them. We looked at the Bibles. We had them analyzed. It did not look like there was a foreign substance. There was no accelerant. It didn't look like he burnt the pages themselves. So we're not looking for burning Bibles or flying up. That's TV. That's Hollywood.
Yeah.
What we found that we appreciate, that our colleagues in the field appreciate is, dude, he's got EMF readings off a bed, and it's a bed. Okay.
Yeah.
He's got K2 this. We got voices, phantom footsteps. We got equipment malfunction, equipment manipulation, like you just experienced with your internet. These are things that we look for, and we know to look for them. So therefore, if a client tells us that his lights go off and on, and if his TV goes off and on, Don, who had his cameras experience the same thing, can say, there has to be truth there. Okay, Keith is on the up and up, and these things happen, and we were there to witness some of it. The camera turning around on its own, they saw that. Steve and Don saw a beach ball, go through a table.
Oh, wow.
They brought the ball with them. I didn't bring the ball. They brought the ball with them. And they saw that. They saw a ball navigate through a series of 8 legs of a chair, and that's 24 legs. So therefore, they were, or 32. They're actually like, whoa, that went down.
Yeah.
So they put that in their notepads, and Nikki and her team the same way. So yeah, it was. I would say the comparison is night and day. And to their credit, they spent hours in the county records office. You know, a lot of people think investigation begins and ends in the home.
Oh no.
No, you got to go through microfilm. You got to go
Yep.
pull. You got to use the Freedom of Information Act to your benefit to say, "Hey, give me everything on the Bothell house.
Yes.
I need the blueprints. I need the makeup of the house. I need to know the land underneath the house. Was it what was it tested for?" People don't understand when houses get built nowadays. You just think a house just pops up on a lot a year. No,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
are studies about that lot that go years and years before you could put one block there.
Sure.
They pull all that. What's the dirt sample? What was found in the dirt? Because they got to look for things to make sure this house and this community is livable for people to live on. Is there any poison, any mineral? We don't know what happened here 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So therefore, they pulled all those records and found a cabin. There was a cabin in that exact spot
Wow.
that was built in the early 1900s and mysteriously was torn down, I think 1970, 1980. And talking to people, there's no record as to why. It's the only cabin in that area. There's no other cabin built, but this cabin was built on my exact lot. The interesting thing about this cabin is the cabin, when it was built, faced the creek to the backyard.
Mhm.
My house faces away from the creek, as all houses do primarily. The backyard, the creek is in the backyard. In this house, the creek was the front yard.
Huh.
So they thought that was interesting, and that's what led them to the more discoveries about Bothell, the smallpox, the Irish settlers, and even now I think the percentage of Irish people or the Irish descendants in Bothell hovers around 11 to 16%. So imagine what it was in mid 1800s.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm trying to how has I'm trying to think out how to word this. So after Don Phillip and Mr. Mara left, how were things then? I'm trying to figure out at what point did you say, you know what, I'm done. I've had it.
Well, let's make the clarification. As of right now, you are no longer at the Bothell house, correct? You no longer live there?
I moved out of the Bothell house May 7th of 2016.
Yep. So I think she's trying to ask, what was the last straw for that? What finally made you say, you know what, enough's enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's an important question because Steve and Dawn came the first time January of 2016. Like the third or fourth week of January they came, and they had found out a lot of stuff, and they went public with their claims, and they substantiated.
Nice.
And then around April of that same year, the activity was showing signs of resurfacing. I had new wall writings, but now the writings, a new liquid had formed downstairs, and that's pretty much what book 2 is about. Is me leaving the house, what made me leave, and was I followed when I lived elsewhere. So I'm in maintain contact with them. The investigation doesn't end when they leave and we never see each other or talk again. We're talking every day via Gmail, and they're keeping me updated as they comb through the evidence. I'm keeping them updated on new activity as they ask me to do.
Yeah.
And therefore, when the activity of the new writings and the bone black was discovered, they said they got to come back. We got to come back. If the house is willing to give, we're willing to receive, meaning from a research point of view. And they said, well, we want to bring Nick Kyle. Nick Kyle was then the president of the Scottish SSPR, who had also done a lot of background in poltergeist activity. And he wanted to validate their claims because the word on their side of the fence was, this must evidence never happened. It's just too good to be true.
Yeah.
So he said, well, let me come as an independent observer. A lot of researchers have learned from the mistakes of the Enfield poltergeist case. So let me just come in there and observe. And he did. So they said, we're going to come and we're going to stay 8 days this time. And they did. And that was in April. And they got once again, they picked up the shadowy figures. They got confirmation from the woods that, this was once an area, this part of Bothell was once a Native American burial ground. They got a voice to confirm that his name was Ray when Don asked the question. That's in the documentary of Ray being uttered. So they got a lot of stuff. And then for me, it was always about for me because Poltergeist, I can say from, if you want to measure the level of activity, level 1 through level 5 is what I talk about Poltergeist activity. A majority of what me and Tina experienced was a level 5. It didn't start off that way. It begins a level 1. Steve and Dawn were in the home when the activity was a level 1. And Steve, he would bear witness to that. We got there. It's level 1 activity, is residual, it's intermittent, but you can discern and get stuff out of that. And even a level 1 is a treasure trove of data.
Sure.
So when they left the second time, that was good for me. I thought 4 years is enough.
Mhm.
I'm not going to treat this as a death sentence, if you will, because if I stay there and do this off and on dance with this poltergeist, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
I need to form a new chapter now and begin living elsewhere. It was we were never going to live in the house permanently anyway. It was just a stepping stone, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think I left on a high note in that the case has been substantiated. People can get to the data and the research and the material. I'm easily accessible. I pivot people to where the information is. They can get it. And I want to live my life and see if I'm going to be followed.
Yeah.
And to what degree. So 4 years felt like it was good enough for me. I did not want, in any stretch of the imagination, for this case to forever be ruled and dominated by the episode known as Demons in Seattle.
Yeah.
Because I almost moved out after that episode aired, and that meant there would have been no Dawn, no Steve, no Nikki Novell, no Carissa, nobody. The last thing would have been known about this case would have been the Demons in Seattle, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm like, I'm going to stick around, especially after I've been vetted by these guys and gals, and they seem to know what they're doing. Everybody seems to be on the up and up, and they were. And the response after that, after they went public with their findings, was Keith was telling the truth after all. There is something going on in the Linder home, and oh man, that Demon in Seattle episode, that's wow. Those guys fumbled that ball, didn't they? Okay,
Yeah.
5 hours, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
I
and
think you said it perfect that they did
Yeah.
it. They did it themselves.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
yeah.
right.
Yeah. You know, and then there you are saying, that's what I've been trying to tell you this whole time, right?
Yeah, that's all I've been, and I've been sincere in trying to tell people. Like I said, I have no qualms with anybody. I'm going to be truthful. I'm going to, if you want to come to my house, you want to investigate, I'm going to allow you. I'm truthful.
Yeah.
I never have to over exaggerate the phenomena that we witness. If I tell you a 300-pound armoire got thrown across the room, it did.
Yeah.
I'm not adding 100 pounds to it. Law of science says no armoire should be thrown across the room. So why am I making it up by saying 300 pounds? An armoire should be flying anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
One Bible's enough. Why I gotta say 3? I just didn't get 3. I'm not stuck on the number 3. 3 Bibles caught fire. I wish none caught fire. Okay. The wall writings, I told you, I knew there was something more to the wall writings. Bone black. I've not got to one person other than the art galleries that I call, but this is what they do every day. It told people bone black, and they knew it automatically what I was talking about. Oh, bone black, yeah, no. Nobody's gonna go out and hoax something and go conjure up bone black. If I told you right now, talk to your listeners to go call Home Depot, say you're like a gallon of bone black, just call them. Call any paint store in your city. Go online. You need a gallon, a quart of bone black right now. You ship it overnight. They're gonna be like, huh? So that's what I'm trying to educate people on. People tell the truth about these instances and these stories. Sometimes the people on the receiving end of these stories try to conjure up, oh no, that's no, it's too much, too many, too fast. No human being can survive that. Number one, yes and no. We did. Evidently, actually, we did. We survived it. Human beings can survive.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Oh, we have our wounds and our scars as a result. But like I tell people, poltergeist cases are centuries old.
Oh, yeah.
They're not decades old. They're centuries old.
Yes.
Speaking back to your education of everybody and in every facet that we've talked about today, you have two books out currently. Is that correct? Are there more than just the two?
Two.
Two.
Yeah,
Where
two
can our
books.
listeners find those? Have access to those?
So the Bothell Hell House's book one came out last year of April. Chronological order of me and Tina moving in the home May, and stops probably at the end of Steve and Dawn's second investigation, which, like I said, January, February 2016. On Amazon, Kindle, paperback version.
Fantastic.
Great.
Attachments dash Poltergeist of Washington State Part 2 came out in August, relatively new. It's also on Amazon, Kindle format version.
Awesome.
Picks up where the Bothell leaves off. There was just so much information. There was no way I was going to cram it into one book.
Yeah, yeah.
436 pages is a lot of pages for one book, and that's the Bothell Hell House. And it was just so much stuff. I did not want to cheat the reader
Yeah, yeah.
about everything me and Tina went through. It's self-published, and I was self-published for a reason. I've had plenty of offers to sell my book or my story, but they wanted to carve it up. They wanted to condense it. They wanted to change stories around. Once again, going back to that honesty, that would be cheating me and Tina and the experiences of the home and the story. So I made it 436 pages of 4 years of hell. Attachments picks up where that book left off. It's a little bit more scientific because it's going to deal with the investigations of multiple teams, mainly Steve and Dawn, everything they found, and then me readying up to leave. What's going to happen when I leave? And then the remainder of the book is of the experiences that I had in my new location. And sad to say, I did have phenomena and new experiences in my new location. I'm talking once again on day one. So also for that, as well as included in the book, is the Bone Black, the previous tenant info, the Native American info. We pretty much know why the house was haunted, why the house was the way it was, or is, it still is. That's in book 2. So the readers can understand from beginning to end the whole process, and it was a 4 or 5 year process of this. This is why this house is the way it is. Out of the 80 other houses in the neighborhood, what makes this house unique and special? And that house has a history. It has an unfortunate history. I said at the beginning of the show, Rhonda, the previous tenant, who told me about their experience, they moved out of the house and moved to the opposite side of Washington. And she passed away. That's at the end of the Bothell Hell House. Me learning of her passing, I dive deeper into why she passed away. She committed suicide. I can tell your listeners it was death by suicide. But it started in that house, and the reasons why she committed suicide are in book 2.
Awesome.
Okay.
We really want to encourage our our listeners and watchers. Be sure check out these books, and you're going to hear the whole story, start to finish, in Mr. Linder's own words. So you don't have to worry about anything being cut out or anything like that. You're going to hear the whole story from the man himself.
To kind of wrap it up with just a little bit here, without stepping on the toes of either publication, can you tell us where you're going from here? What are some of your goals? Do you have a mission or anything like that?
I mean, I'm still in IT. I'm still the same guy I introduced to you at the beginning of the show. I'm still that guy. I'm just going through life as a journey. My mission and goal has primarily been the same, whether I lived in a Bothell house or not, even though this is now attached to me, meaning that this is part of my life experience now. And part of my life experience is to share my story. I think people can learn from it. I'm still learning. I find out new stuff every day about my experience and the experience of other people. People all over the world find me, and like I said, I put my email address at the end of both books. I'm not trying to hide because I want to be asked questions. I love the drill down questions, and for me, moving forward is just talking about the experience, getting the information out there. One of the crucial benefits of both books, and this is from my IT background, is everything that we talked about on this show and elsewhere. Those links and videos are in both books.
Oh, okay,
So
good.
if you have a Kindle, you know how everything's an ebook nowadays. There are links or hyperlinks that you can click to, and you can go to the evidence. You can go to the EVPs. You can go to the voices and stuff. Primarily, it's on YouTube, which is free, so you're not gonna have to fork over a credit card or anything.
Yeah.
I made it available. No commercials. I don't turn on the feature that says add commercials, so I won't drag you through that mud, the listener. And you can just listen to it from me and Tina's point of view, because you're going to see the videos of when we first moved into the house and we heard the bangs or the lights going off and on. And then you're going to, as you go through the journey, 4 or 5 years later, you're going to see the fires, you're going to see the wall writings, you're going to see us up at night, you're going to hear the voices, and it's a trippy. I'm going to warn your listeners.
Yeah.
There's some dark stuff, but we have to learn together, and that's my journey as far as where I'm going to go with this. Am I in the paranormal now? I would say yeah and no. I'm not trying to be a researcher. I'm not trying to ever venture into anybody's home. I do answer questions when asked by people who are going through something similar or worse. What made me survive and what made Tina survive is our level of calm. We're very calm in how we approached and troubleshooted a lot of this phenomena, and that's very hard to do.
Most definitely.
Very hard to do. If someone asks me, should they stay in a home as active as ours? My honest assessment is no, get out.
Yeah.
Definitely get out. It's not worth it in the sense of what you're going to lose as a result. I mean, me and Tina got that house with the best of intentions, and unfortunately, we're not together anymore. However, the paranormal community, and they can study this evidence for a long time, and they will. They will, as well as other paranormal cases. But the truth of the matter is, yeah, these guys, Keith and Tina, were telling the truth. And don't take my word for it. Steve Mayer has his own book.
Yeah.
Don Phillips has his own documentary. It's an hour and a half. It's free, ladies and gentlemen. It's free. It's on YouTube. You can download. You can watch it on your smart TV, on your handheld device, and take their word for it and not mine. And then come back to my story and be like, yeah, you know what? That guy, he was on the up and up. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we kind of sign off here?
No, thanks for having me. I got to give shout out to you guys. Thank you, Chrissy, for finding me.
Yes. I'm a fan, and yeah, thank you so much for joining us and telling your story.
It means the world to us.
It really does. It really does.
I hope I answered all y'all questions. If you have any more, your listeners, feel free to shoot me an email or Chrissy or a chat box or whatever.
Sure.
I hope your listeners got a lot. They can find me online. Keith Linder is on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. And definitely I tell them, get the book. It's free through Kindle. Free. In the paperback you can get, and find me, email me, and tell me what you think. I really want to know what my readers think of the story, because a lot of you, I found out, have your own experiences, and it's always good to compare experiences.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Great.
We'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, especially Mr. Linder, everybody in the chat. Like I said, this will be an audio version as well. One last thing I'd like to ask Mr. Linder before we go, if we do have confirmed permission to use both audio and video from this live session and any further use for our podcast.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, yes, again, thank you so much for joining us. This has been amazing. I'm probably not going to sleep tonight because I'm still going to be like so excited that we got to do an interview with you. Okay, I'm done now. Okay, I'll shut up.
We're friends now. You can find me anytime. Yeah.
Awesome. We love you, sir. Thank you.
That's baby.
All right, guys. I think that's it for today. Don't forget, on Tuesday, we have our Supernatural Tendencies podcast. What are we doing? What is this week coming out?
Oh, too quick.
Hold on. It is Sid Hurwitz and his time-altering machine. This is an amazing story, you guys. You're going to want to check it out. Tuesday, 10 o'clock a.m. That will be round about 10 o'clock a.m., it will be released. So be sure to check it out on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. Okay, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.